The following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin.
Hey everybody, this is Christine, and this is 50 Shades of Bullshit. Welcome back. This week we are doing episode 213, Consent is Sexy, Asking, Telling, and Holding Your Line. This week on 50 Shades, we are having Kara McCulloh and Janice Formichella for a real and raw deep dive into boundaries, asking for what you want and why consent is the sexiest form of communication. We break down how to say no without guilt, yes with confidence, and stop settling for less than what you deserve on dates, in bed, and in life. So let's bring on Kara and Janice.
Hello, my dear. Hi.
Hey. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Kara, it's good to see you again. And you too, Janice. I always love having you guys on. I'm super excited. And plus, I'm very excited because Janice, has Sex and the Solar Girl podcast. And I was connecting the two of you because you would make a great guest on her show as well. So I'm excited about this little trio here today.
Yep, excited to explore that. Glad to be here. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too. Let me tell you about Kara again before we all know Janice. But I want to give you a little information for those who are just joining us and did not hear our last episode about body imaging with Kara. So she is a somatic pleasure coach and a registered sexologist. She supports women and female identifying people to reconnect with their bodies, reclaim their desire, and experience pleasure and intimacy that feel safe, alive, and fully their own. With a trauma-informed, holistic approach, she guides clients to release old patterns and step into a more confident, embodied, authentic way of being. So thank you again, Kara, for being here again. I'm thrilled to have you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, Kara, on what we're talking about today and why it is so important.
Well, consent and boundaries are really what helps keep you feel safe in sex and in dating. And without those, you can get yourself into all kinds of, situations that don't always feel good.
Right.
And, I know it can be really hard to not people please, that sometimes that's something that people struggle with. So really understanding your boundaries and upholding those helps you move through dating and sex in a much easier, relaxed way.
Yeah, I love that. So Janice, you remember when we had this topic on, what was it? What was that talking group that we were in where we first...
Oh, the dating roundtable on Clubhouse?
Yeah, on Clubhouse. That's what it was. This was a really heated conversation when we had it on Clubhouse.
That was, I forgot that was the impetus. You want to tell everyone what happened? It's kind of a juicy, gossipy little story there.
Yeah, we had a guy who said that he was a sex and relationship coach, which he had actually never become it. He just was starting out and wanting to become it, but he was telling everybody he was, and that's fine. Fake it till you make it bullshit. But
aspiring sex coach, come on.
He was aspiring. He could be now, you never know. But he was on talking about why can't we have sympathy for the guy who is turned down at the last minute. So like, say you're in a situation and somebody, doesn't matter if it's the guy or girl, they decide they change their mind. That's called retracting your consent and it's valid. And we were getting to that point and we were saying, when a woman says no, no matter how far into it you are, you have to respect that and stop. And he said, well, why can't we have sympathy for the guy who is being forced to stop?
Yeah, he said the man also needs to be looked after and to, have somewhere to go to, process his feelings of hurt, which I will say, and maybe we can talk more about this. There is something to be said for men having other men that they can talk to about these things and maybe be put checked or just say, wow, a lot's coming up for me. I had this thing happen the other night. But he just made such a big deal about making sure that men also are looked after when they breach consent, I think is exactly what he said.
And I lost my cookies. I lost my shit.
Yeah. And I will say that there is definitely a space for men to go where, they're feeling a lot of rejection. Like, yes, there's a place for you to be able to process those feelings, but that doesn't mean that you get to take it out on the woman and that you should be.
Or that inside of that container, if the woman is saying no or anyone's having a boundary with you, it's really not about you and making sure that your feelings are protected.
At all.
But no, that was very important to him. I actually was in a situation at a festival a number of years back where we were in the sauna and a man had breached consent or boundaries and touched a woman inappropriately, and she did kind of flip out, and everybody kind of rallied around her, and a friend of mine did actually though go to the man because he's not being kind of publicly called out, which was good, but he went to him and just kind of said, let's go over here and talk, probably a lot's coming up for you as well, and I actually did think that was appropriate, to be honest. That another man went to him and said, let's go over here.
That's amazing.
A chat about this.
I think that there needs to be a lot more men who understand about this type of topics, this kind of delicate situation. Most of the time, if a woman is changing her mind, it's because she never really was there in the first place and felt pressured or scared. Because, I've had the situation where people have said to me, why don't you just tell him no instead of just here? Let me preface this. It's not about sex at the moment. Let's just say that a guy asks me out. Okay. And I feel really unsafe to tell him no. I'm going to say, oh, well, let's talk about that and I'll get back to you and we'll figure it out. Later, I will then send him a message that says, I thought about it. I just can't. And, whatever. Because never have I ever felt safe in person in that kind of situation to be able to say no comfortably, because I've been afraid of how they would react, how I would be treated, how unsafe I felt.
Maybe you need some practice.
Yes, I think I'm getting a little better now, but even like on the plane coming here to Mexico, there was a gentleman sitting across the aisle from me. I was on the aisle, he was on the aisle, and he just kept reaching out and touching me, and I just kept almost flinching. And I had earbuds in and he kept trying to talk to me and I'd have to take my earbud out. And he was obviously seeing that was a problem. And then he invited me to come see him while he was in Mexico too. And I was ignoring the fact. And then I was like, dude. And then I'm watching a movie and this movie really affected me. And I kind of teared up. And then he just grabbed my arm and was like, are you okay? And I was like, dude, it's just a movie. I'm just reacting. What the fuck?
Who thinks it's okay to touch a stranger? Even woman to woman. All right, go on.
Exactly. And then he hands me his phone number and says, please reach out to me. And I wanted to say, no, it's okay. But I just felt so uncomfortable in the moment. I just took it and then threw it away. And for me, I just had to say, oh, it's not a good idea. I can't. I have been in so many bad situations to where I've said no and I've been forced or pressured, coerced, felt demeaned, been yelled at, be diminished, like my feelings be diminished, that it's very hard for me to go there. So I find this topic very important. And I'd love to know, Kara, how in your practice and when you help women in this situation, what's the things that you would say and do to, I hope y'all didn't hear my phone ringing. My phone is like off the hook here. So what would you do and say to help a woman be able to confidently say no?
So one, it starts with practice, giving you agency. I use a little mini practice in session when we're working with boundaries, and there was ever a time where you weren't able to fully say no, or you felt fear around it, like giving you permission to confidently say it and know that you're in a safe place. Because sometimes it really does take practice. It can feel really strange saying no, especially if you've had an opportunity to do that, or if you've been in a position where you've maybe not necessarily been able to say no, because a lot of times in assault, it can start as consensual and maybe you're not really certain. Maybe you don't actually get the chance to actually say no, stop. And regardless of if you actually say that or not, if you don't want to proceed any longer. But yeah, giving you the space to have that no and feel really strong in it. So a lot of times we'll start that practice and it'll be like, no, like they say it really softly because it doesn't feel safe to say it, or it doesn't feel natural to say it. And then we'll gradually get stronger and stronger with that no until it feels real and feels legitimate, and just slowly working your nervous system so that way it can feel good to have that. That's one way that I use that.
Okay. What about you, Janice? Have you worked with clients with consent and boundaries?
Yes, especially my female clients after breakups can struggle with it. Though a lot of my male clients are struggling to respect and learn about consent and learn how to be better men. And I do talk with them about that as well. And just feeling like I'm really excited to get out there, but I don't want to be creepy. Like a lot of men will use the word creepy these days, and that they don't want to be seen that way. And so yeah, just helping them to build up their confidence and appropriately ask a woman out, or and then what's going to happen on the date. A lot of guys I've been really gratified to see are very concerned about that and very curious and willing to learn. So I've been helping on both sides of it for sure.
I love that.
Yeah, and with the women, a lot of the times it starts, the most basic thing is how you communicate with men on dating apps. You can practice a lot, and I coach women on that specifically. And either walking away or saying something just inside of the app when it doesn't feel right is really good practice in and of itself. And working up to the point of, yes, then of course in person being able to say what your boundaries are. That's a starting point right there.
I love that. So where do you think is our main step with helping men understand that boundaries and consent is the most important thing in any kind of situation, but also not feeling as if they're being stabbed with a knife and destroyed and that they're bad. It's not, it could be any multitude of things why a woman could be saying no. It could maybe not even be you. It just could be something that affected her that day or something that it was bringing up. How do we start to communicate with men to do this, do you think?
For me, it goes back to talking with men about what their expectations are out of the women that they meet. And that, not every woman you're attracted to should you have an expectation of sex or relationship with. And if you can break that down, and if they don't go into the engagement or interaction with the expectation of getting something out of them, then they will act a lot more naturally, appropriately.
Interesting.
I'd also like to add too that it's not just men that feel rejected, or women also need to. understand consent. I think especially a lot of times if you have a partner that, is going through something, especially if you're male, you're judged a lot harder than if you're a woman and you don't want to have sex with your partner. I see it all the time. Women being like, something's wrong with me. They're rejecting me. Like, he's a man. He should want me. He should desire me. And that's not always true.
Right. That is true. That is very true. Especially in the beginning of dating, I think that I have met many men who are like, that I don't have sex on the first date. I don't, even kiss. It takes me a little bit to get there. Some men are very, not so much physical, but mentally stimulated, or they like to have certain elements that are maybe different than the physical body. So I can see where a woman could feel rejected. I just think that maybe women aren't as physically violent as men might be.
As the same expectations. But I could see if you're going out there dating and every guy has maybe acted, this certain way, and then when someone does it, you could take that as rejection. Yeah, completely. And this is why it goes back to just basic communication and learning how to use your words. And we talked last week about sex confidence, and we talked about how just having the very basic conversations around, what are you looking for, or when things are starting to get hot and heavy. Being able to just have basic conversations about safe sex and protection can go do wonders for your confidence and being able to broach, then other topics. I mean, even having a conversation perhaps or about your first kiss could be, wonderful. Chris asked me if he could kiss me the first time, and I was charmed and I find
it very charming.
It's one of my happiest memories in life, maybe.
I remember when very distinctly when men ask me for the first time, because it's
for a kiss.
Because it made me feel like they respected my decision. If I was like not comfortable, that they would respect that and not take it personally. And it felt really safe. And I really like that. And not that, there are times that I've, of course, and I'm sure that both of you have too, been with men and are a partner or your first date or whatever. And it just, the heat of the moment, it's there, you can tell, and you just kiss. And that's great. Because you both are communicating.
There's other ways that you can give consent, but
exactly.
I will say as a tip to ask for the first kiss. And I mean, this is all about using your words and your voice. And if you can ask for something, simple and basic like that, then you're going to be able to use your voice to discuss other topics. And people don't always do it. I've been watching Seeking Sister Wife.
Okay.
And so
I love those shows, so it's all good.
I am really into this series. I love the shows that just highlight people's, of course, like the different relationship structures, being non-monogamous, but also people's ability or inability to communicate about anything. And I will say it has been a few times watching, yes, the men, because they're seeking sister wives, so the men date and will take women out and seeking women to bring into the relationship. And it has been very disheartening a number of times to watch these dates and see that sometimes the men will ask for the kiss and not take no for an answer. It's like been a gut punch a couple of times.
Oh, and they just do it anyway?
Please, or just, please, or come on.
Oh, I hate the beg.
Yeah.
The weird weak beg is not good, guys. Not good.
Times I've seen, and also just a woman putting out signals that are perfectly obvious to anyone else watching, and the man just being completely oblivious to it and just going for it anyways. Yeah. And also I've seen the opposite as well on the show. I do want to say, but this is muscle that people need to learn how to flex.
Yeah. And like, I've also been in experiences where it's been asked too much, like every single thing that happens. Is it okay if I do this? Is that okay if I do that? Like, please just.
Let's get
Yes,
it on.
that's terrible. Yeah,
I already told you yes 100 times. We're good.
yeah, yeah. I do get that. I get it. They're over, trying
Overly
too
cautious.
hard.
Yeah.
But that could be a conversation too. Like, I'm feeling really good with you. Let's go for it. You don't need. I'll let you know. You don't need to ask again.
Yeah.
100% is the communication. Going back to every God bless American conversation that we have on the show, it goes back to communication. And if you're not confident enough to communicate all these things, then and I'm getting much better at it than I ever have been before.
Yeah, I've seen your evolution.
Yeah, it's like the straight ass fear, but people who listen to the show regularly know that I've had an extremely traumatic past relationship with men not understanding no, and I've been raped and beat and abused in so many different ways that it took a long time for me to be able to communicate with people and feel confident in that. I used to not even show physical communication, like with the stupid guy on the airplane. Like in the past, I just would have smiled and nodded and oh my gosh, yeah. This time I'm like, what? I was like,
I would have loved to see this.
how much fucking more communication do you need me to do? Do you want me to tell the entire plane that I want you to fucking stop touching me? It's like me flinching. In the past, I wouldn't have flinched. I would have just taken it and just smiled and go, Not anymore. I'm much more, physically or verbally. I just didn't want to say, look, dude, fucking no, I don't want your number.
Would you, like, looking back or looking at like the most ideal way that you would have liked to handle it, would you have said no? Like, would you have liked to do that? Could you like fantasize about having told him in front of everybody to back off?
I wish so. Yeah.
Okay. So
I do.
Would have or could have or okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, now that the situation has happened, and if it was to ever happen again, I know that now I am at a place that I can go, okay, yes, I can say no. I can turn and say, listen, I appreciate you. Now I do appreciate where your interest, but it's a no for me.
And I'm not saying like you should have done this. I'm just curious.
Right.
If you feel that's like
I
the
do
best
feel
version of you. Okay.
Yeah. Many times I thought about saying, hey, look, my boyfriend wouldn't like this. But then that to me is also, that's the old me, because a lot of women feel like a man's going to respect another man's thing and not respect a woman's choice. And that fucking pisses me off. So I choose not to say that anymore. Even if I have a boyfriend or don't have a boyfriend, it's none of his fucking business. Me saying no is me saying no. I didn't say the words no this time, but I physically showed him. I physically many fucking times
I believe you.
Showed him.
Was he much older?
He was a little bit older, I think.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah. And all I thought was, this man has fucking balls to do this. And he wasn't attractive, which was very ballsy. So
you're feeling like, why are you so comfortable approaching me?
Why are you so comfortable doing this in public, period? Yeah. The man did not understand boundaries. I don't care if I'm attractive or unattractive, or he's attractive or unattractive. I do feel like, though part of me was like, dude, I'm out of your league.
So, I'm just going down to like the base level, just saying, like, let's be honest.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I was out of his league. I was very shocked that he was even pushing the envelope. But when it comes down to it, he should have paid attention. And I don't think that a lot of men are capable of paying attention. Either maybe he was in a long-term relationship and he doesn't understand dating now. But you should understand as a man in this modern day of 2025, almost 2026, that if you can physically see that a woman is uncomfortable, leave her the fuck alone.
It is frustrating that the responsibility gets put on us, especially, being in public. Yeah, that it is very frustrating. I agree.
Yeah. So what about boundaries? Tell us the difference that you would say between consent and boundary. Either. Yeah, let's start with you, Kara.
Yeah. So, I mean, the different consent is your yes. And a boundary is more so your no, or something that you need to get to your yes. And I think the yes is just as important as the no, understanding what it is that you want, because without that, you might not know what it is you want or don't want.
Got it. Yeah, I get that. I can see that. Janice?
I think for me, the boundaries are something that I think about ahead of time, so that I'm able to execute them. Because boundaries are great, and talking about boundaries is a wonderful thing. But they're really only as effective as how you execute them and how ready you are to execute them. So I would think these are things that I've kind of thought about ahead of time. I might make them known as I'm getting to know someone in the moment if I feel like one of them has been crossed. And then consent to me is something that I'm navigating in the moment. That's how I see it.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you think that what's a really good way? Okay. Let's just talk women here for a second.
Girl to girl.
What do you something's wrong with your mic, by the way, Janice. I keep hearing a gurgle, a rural, so I'm not sure what it is, but I wonder if something's like disconnecting or something.
Okay.
Let's talk about how do we think women can figure out what a boundary is and how to learn to communicate that to somebody. What are your thoughts on that? Either one of you.
All right.
You have something to say.
Well, it definitely helps. And also, how is my sound? Is this getting any better?
No, not really, but keep going.
All right. Well, so it does help to be a dating, and breakup coach and be thinking about these things all of the time. And I think, sitting down and writing them out before you begin dating. And you can do this by maybe going back and doing a relationship like inventory and thinking about what it was in relationships that might have bothered you or triggered you, and you will notice patterns as you map this out, and that is how you get to your boundaries.
Okay.
And then
what
also
about you?
As you are getting to know people, really noticing in your body when something doesn't feel right, that is also, helping you to uncover what possible boundary is for you.
Yeah. I was going to say this, notice your sensations, like how you're feeling in the moment. For me, learning your boundaries is really like being present with yourself and responding. Like, how do you respond? How does it make you feel? Because sometimes boundaries change from person to person too, or like where you're at through your life. You might want something different or have different expectations. So yeah, just listening to what it is that you're feeling.
And speaking with a coach or counselor or even just a friend is also a really good way to uncover these things. And I will say, we can talk to death about boundaries and consent, but a lot of people though, my clients and my friends, when I ask them what their boundaries are, complete deer in headlights. It is really important to get specific on, like maybe 5 things. What are non-negotiables for you? What are your, expectations out of other people? And just write down 5 of them, and it will help you to develop the muscle in your brain to think about these as you go along.
What if someone can't think of it? So this is my thought right now is what if someone can't think of it? So what kind of boundaries, like let's talk about our boundaries. Kara, do you have certain boundaries, like say you're going to go out or you're going to meet with somebody or you're even in a relationship? What are certain things that maybe you can suggest for people to start thinking about? Like
Oh, you broke up a little bit.
Now it's your mic. That's going to happen, now that she's in Mexico.
So if I can apologize, I'm not, here.
You got to stop your rebel help. Broadcasting from Mexico. This is what happens.
Yeah.
This is just the part of the fun, right? Well, tell us a little bit more about your business.
So I'm a somatic sexologist. So I work with a lot of women specifically on these things. Going in, and like I said, a lot of it is understanding what you're feeling in the moment.
What do you think causes, what prompts or compels someone to come and seek out your services? What are they trying to accomplish?
To enjoy sex. To feel
Yes. Okay.
Safe in sex. Safety is a big one. Safety is something that I work with pretty much baseline with anyone. Not feeling shameful about sex, feeling comfortable in your body, navigating challenges like through motherhood or life changes like menopause.
So maybe having had a recent or long-term history of what you might say sex dysfunction or not having pleasurable sex.
Sex isn't pleasurable or enjoyable, or it's only for their partner. And not feeling confident in it, not having an orgasm with their partner or ever at all. So yeah, providing education on their body and what they might be experiencing from the physical realm, but then also the emotional, psychosomatic parts of it.
Yeah, how cool. So how do you work with people?
I do mostly virtual.
Okay.
One-on-one. So yeah.
And for how long? We're talking more about Carrie's business.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you.
For the queen to come back on.
Well, I was worried about my connection today, so that I was really grateful, Janice, that you could be here because I figured y'all could carry on without me if I needed you to.
Yeah.
So, but go ahead, Kara. You were talking about your business. I want people to know how to reach you anyway.
Yeah. So sessions are usually like an hour to an hour 30 minutes. And it will look like, it always kind of changes. Like each session will kind of dictate what happens next, what we look at next. One day it might be your inner child and what she was taught or what you learned as a kid about sex. The next day it might be your relationship with your caregivers. Another time it might be feeling like really honing in on feeling safe in your body, creating those boundaries, what actually feels good in your body, and learning to say yes.
Oh, how cool.
Kind of things. Yeah, it's always different, and it's really fascinating to see like what comes up with each client because everyone responds so differently. And everyone has such a different experience, like with the way that I guide them through these practices. But it's very connected to your body, what you're physically feeling, what you're feeling like emotionally, energetically.
Yeah, very cool. I want a session.
I know. I was just thinking, me too.
Sign up.
Yeah,
cool. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you.
Yeah. I it's funny that you were just talking about, how somebody, what did you just say? You just said something about how did people connect with sex with what they learned growing up?
Yeah.
Two or three people can grow up in the same household with the same parents and have completely different, I know that's how it was in my home. So it's interesting how that is. And I actually would love to do an episode about that. I think that's very fascinating.
Yeah. Let's do all the things.
So, yeah.
Right.
Like I have two sisters and all of our childhoods were so different. Like all of our, the way that we grew up was our relationship with our parents were all so different from one another.
Yeah, it's like when my girls talk about their relationships with me, how they talk about it being so different. And I'm thinking, I treated them all the same and I acted all the same, but it's still not, because their
Yeah,
perspective.
It's
Yeah.
very important as a parent to remember that.
And I didn't understand that when my girls started breaking down when they got older and they decided they had a terrible childhood. It's their perspective. And I know that I loved them and I didn't beat them and I didn't abuse them and I didn't do the things that I grew up with. I think I might have overcompensated for sure. And gave them too long of a leash and let them get away with things I shouldn't have, just because I was the sole parent in our home. So I know that I made mistakes, but it took me a while to realize that their perspective and their memories are theirs. And I can't take that away from them. You know what I mean? So I get that. I think that's a very fascinating concept. So I would love to talk about that at some point with you. But let's go back, if you don't mind, to talking about some ideas of boundaries and how people can start to think about boundaries.
Yeah. So I've been single for a really long time, and one thing that I won't go out with you if you're not going to actually like take me out.
I was going to say that's one of my
random
boundaries, too.
house. I'm not like, we're not doing that right away. If things are going well, like I'm not opposed to first night, spending a little more time together, but I'm not going to meet you there for the very first time. That's terrifying. You're not going to pick me up. You're not going to know where I live right away until I've met you and I know you a little bit better.
Yes, a walk is not a first date.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny that you say that, because I do think that a lot of men, instead of asking women out on dates, are like Netflix and chill. And they don't understand when we say we can't go to a fucking stranger's house, not knowing who and what you are.
Yeah.
That's too dangerous.
Unsafe like that. They don't know what that could potentially mean because they've never had to really think about it.
They've never been in a situation where they've felt that type of fear.
Regardless, though, how is that like trying to impress a woman? Maybe if you don't understand the fear factor, but that is also one of my boundaries too. Like I want to be taken out.
And I think too, from the first, like I'm dating with intent. I'm very much like
exactly
seeking a relationship, and I have some friends who are friends, but I want to be treated right off the bat like I know what you are seeking at the end of this. Like, and you inviting me over right away is not like if you message me with a very overtly sexually explicit comment, I'm not responding. We're blocked.
Yeah, again, and that's a good way to
boundary.
Boundaries is in text message and just saying, all right, we're done, bye.
Yep. And women, I find through all of this, all the things that we've talked about in this podcast and in my personal life, I find that most women feel more comfortable just ghosting and blocking and being done. But we need to stop and think. If we're not telling them what is going on, they're never going to know, and then they're not going to stop. They're just going to think, oh, well, she's a flake, or she's this, or she's that.
Or all women do this.
Right. Where they don't stop. If you don't stop and say, hey, just so you know, this is extremely inappropriate. It's not respectful. You've made me feel very uncomfortable. It does not feel safe. And this is not something that you should ever do. And if men aren't telling men, women need to. And I don't think men take it well from women, though. I mean,
some.
They just think we're all bitches, whatever.
Well, if you're going to act that way, you might be, a certain type of person, but still, it's a case by case basis, depending on what, we need a lot more context. But yes, I would encourage women, before you maybe bounce out of a conversation to say something.
Yeah. What about you, Janice? What's some boundaries that we can talk about that can help women think about these type of things?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, definitely, if I'm going to go on, something like a first date, I would expect, yes, to be actually taken out on something and to have like, the container set up and respected. I don't expect to like, go out for an all-nighter on a first date for sure. And something that turns me off just, like so immediately is, the like quiet whiny beg, like, please, are you sure, please? I don't like that. Like, my no is a no. I'm not coming home with you. It says a lot about someone if they can't take that. Inside of relationships, things like that, I don't like to be told to shut up, for instance. I like to, I'm someone who likes to have my space respected. And so, yeah, somebody who can understand that. But then I guess at the same time, kind of getting to a point where you can expect what the communication patterns are going to be, which is something that, Chris and I talk about a lot in the relationship, is just like how we interact when we're not together type of thing.
Yeah.
And it depends, I have different boundaries depending on where I am in the relationship for sure. And then a boundary, and I will just like put this out there when I'm first dating somebody, if just like the texting just starts going off the wall, like the next day after a first date, is something that I would say, I don't like. I don't like to be told, how to spend my money, how to spend my time, things like that. Mm-hmm.
I had a situation today getting into my condo. I mean, I called it a condo, but it's an apartment. A friend of mine is my broker here, and we've been friends since 2018. And so we've known each other a long time. And he was getting very aggressive with my new landlord because the, what is it? An app that is supposed to pay her. It's the first time I was on it. It's the first time she was on it. We both didn't understand it. We were both trying to get it to work. I'm panicking because the time is going faster and I had to get ready and set up for the podcast. And I'm thinking, holy shit, if I don't get this paid right now, I'm not going to have a place to do my podcast. So I was super stressing out, and my friend was getting very aggressive with it. And I was just like, please stop, please stop, please stop. And then I was coming up with a solution with her, and I'm a talker, obviously. And I was saying something to her, and he was telling me not to say that. He stopped telling her, stop. And he was trying to dictate how I was going to speak. And normally in the past, I just would have shut up and been quiet. And today I turned and I said, no, do not ever tell me how and when or where or what to say. This is not your conversation. No. And that felt really empowering. I got to say, that was really empowering. It had nothing to do with sex, but it was a place that I could say, no, this is not practice. Okay. That felt really good, especially after the plane fiasco.
Yeah.
And it felt good to say that,
And I mean, how was it received? How are you feeling now a little bit after having done that?
Well, he stormed out of the room. And stormed out of the place. Though he did text me back and said, goddamn, that was stressful. That's what he texted back to me. And I think that was his weird way of, acting like he's okay with it. But I didn't care if he was okay with it at that point. Do you know what I mean? I stood my ground. I said, no, I will speak any way I need to speak. First of all, even if I was just about to say I'm not your wife or your girlfriend, but even if I was, that's still not a place for anybody to be able to say, don't talk about that, or don't do this, or don't behave this way, or don't speak this way. It's like, I don't tell you, you don't tell me.
Good for you.
You know what I mean? So I get that. It felt very empowering today. And, we're not just talking about consent for sex or boundaries for sex. It is consent and boundaries for your entire existence, your entire life. Yeah. I think it's really important, especially when, say, like me, I'm in another country with very macho men who speak another language. It's going to be a challenge, but I need to, really stand my ground and feel good about,
Well, now you're solo
saying this.
traveling, solo living, whatever you want to call it, and you're going to be going out in public a lot on your own. And so you might want to think, about what your boundaries are. For me, I also go out on my own a lot. And when I'm out in public, either working, reading a book, etc., definitely I will make eye contact with you and engage in a conversation with you if I want to. And yes, and if I don't, I won't. And that is a boundary of mine. If someone doesn't respect that I have my laptop out in front of me at a bar and am making no effort to continue to engage in the conversation you're trying to trap me into, I can't get down with you. And so I would maybe think about that, girl.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how the whole situation with the plane thing happened too. As you were talking about that, it's very uncomfortable when you're physically showing somebody that you're not okay with a conversation or not okay. I'm the same way. I will not make eye contact. What are some of the ways that you do, Kara, that kind of shows people that you're just not in it to win it?
I mean, I'm very vocal.
I will say
like I have no problem being like, no.
Like, no,
I'm not interested. Or, yesterday is a good example. I had somebody book a session and I read through the little form that they fill out. And I always do like a curiosity call first before, to see if we're a good fit for each other. And if, it's a client that I can actually take. And he was looking for a sexual partner, and he booked the call for tomorrow, but then he jumped on the Zoom call right away because I got the notification that he was on it. And I was like, this is not my services. This is not the space where, this is not what I offer. Please don't contact me again. And then I see that. I blocked his number. He's like, why can't you do it with me? And I'm not going to engage any further, but I have no problem just flat out saying no.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I guess people even like push you to come on my podcast and emailing me and messaging me just like over and over again. And I've gotten to the point where I just let people know. Yeah. Like, I don't care how bad you want to do this. That's not how I gauge who I have come on the show. Like, I will be in touch with you, I promise. And like now I've told you that and you're still pushing. And so I don't think it's a fit.
I know that person.
That type of person.
No, I know that exact person you're talking about.
I'm talking about multiple.
I know one of them. I get it. I think that there are lots of things in life that you need to really think about what your boundaries are, like maybe at work or with friends, with the way that you communicate, maybe stop and consider, how do I feel comfortable saying no to this or yes to this, or, just to feel empowered in yourself. I think the most important thing is to feel empowered within yourself to be able to do that. Yeah. And then if you can't, your first time you get the chance to do it and you just don't beat yourself up, really stop and think, okay, like I did, okay, I really wish I'd done it this way. And then, you know what? I practiced in my head. I was going to say kind of the scenario. And next time I will know that the next time, which there's always a fucking next time, because, I got to be honest with you. I think a lot of men at this point in life find that once they find someone attractive, that it's just an automatic thing that you're going to comply. And that's like with you, Kara, with your potential client who wanted something different. It's like they assume because they find you attractive that you should just go, which train do I jump on? No, this train's not leaving the depot. So I get it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, tell us, Kara, real quick, how can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Somatic Sexuality, or my website, which is somaticsexualitycoaching.com. And
Wonderful.
I think that's about it.
Wonderful. And Janice, let's tell everybody how to reach you.
Yay! Come over to JaniceFormichella.com and come and check out my YouTube. It's really going off these days, and that's also at Janice Formichella.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. We're almost out of time. I adore you both so much. I value your opinions, and hopefully we've started people on the journey of understanding what boundaries and consent is. And that if you have any further questions, you're welcome to reach out here at the show, or either Kara or Janice. We're all here for you. And if you are actually interested in hearing more about this, you know how to reach me. 50 Shades of Bullshit at gmail.com, except for it's spelled FIFTY, and the shit is SHYT because Gmail, you know. Anyway, we're going to be back same time, same place next week. And until then, let's just keep this shit real.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50 Shades of _bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.